The second highest grossing movie genre in the United States are action movies. The secret weapon of any great action movie is not the hero, but the villain. Good villains bring out the best in our heroes by intensifying the action and tension in the movie. Tonight, we have a guest who has starred or co-starred in 69 feature films, mostly as a villain. But we'll find out that he's more than his villain persona. I'm so happy you're joining us.
From Los Angeles, this is KLCS PBS. Welcome to Everybody with Angela Williamson, an innovation, arts, education, and public affairs program. Everybody with Angela Williamson is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you. And now your host, Dr. Angela Williamson.
Mel Novak is our guest with us tonight. Mel, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
And I mentioned that you were in 69, either you starred or co-starred in 69 movies, but there's another fact that I didn't say.
And I've died 26 times.
And you're with us today. Can you tell our audience a little bit how you got into movies?
Well, I didn't come to California to be into movies or ministry or anything. When I got out of high school, I had 60 scholarships for football, major universities. I signed a pro baseball contract with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and a year and a half later, they butchered me. I got an 18-inch scar, and I was crippled 5 years. And I got tired of people saying you should have, you would have, and I came to California. And I was working with an insurance company. One of the gals says, "You look great in clothes. My cousin's a modeling agent. Would you like to meet her?" I said, "Sure." So I started with modeling. And then they sent me to an acting school for commercials. And then I started to go to some drama places that were really good. Learned camera technique, Screen Actors Studio, Estelle Harmon. These were very powerful teachers, and I learned, but I had income coming in. And that was important because some of the guys in the class, and this wasn't the style where you have your denims are torn, and they laughed because I had a regular job, but I had a free car, money coming in, and I learned my craft. And the first big role on TV was Mannix. I played a hitman from then on, but in the movies, my first big role was Black Belt Jones. I played a hitman named Blue Eyes. Killed 5 people that day in that movie.
You mentioned earlier that first movie that you were in. You remember that first movie. Can you remember the feelings, like what you felt when you landed that first major role in Hollywood?
That was great because when I went for the reading with Robert Klaus, he was the director, and I wore a gangster suit, had a gangster hat, and that was for the character. And I thought I blew it because the last line was, "Look at him, he's sweating just like a pig." So I grabbed him like this. I had to look at him, he's sweating just like a pig, and I spit on him. And he went, "Oh, okay, thank you, that was very good." All the way home, I'm beating myself up. So when I got home, the phone's ringing, and it was Oscar Williams. He wrote the script, and it was casting. He's laughing, he's mad, he loves you, you got the role. So first day of shooting went really well. The next day, someone says, "Mel Novak." I said, "Yo, the director and producer want to see you." So I said, "Why? Did I do something wrong?" "I don't know." So I went in and I said, did I do something wrong? He said, "No, you did everything right, but your crime partner can't handle dialogue. We want to know if he can give you the dialogue, his dialogue." "Give me all the dialogue you want." And my part increased. And 2/3 through the movie, he cast me in A Game of Death, Bruce Lee's last picture, where I play Stick the Assassin. And Raymond Chow, the executive producer, didn't want me. Andre Morgan, the producer, they wanted some big name, the villain. And the director says, no, he's Stick. And 2 weeks into the shooting in Hong Kong, I was there 7 weeks, they came to me and said, we were wrong, you are Stick. And it's like everybody in the world has seen that.
Yeah.
And I've in the ministry, it's been incredible.
Was that your second movie with that?
Second one was with Bruce Lee, The Game of Death.
Wow. And my question is, I mean, you actually start acting because you found another love. You start acting, you take it seriously, you get that first role, you do the job, do it so well, you end up with more lines. You develop that relationship. The director knows what you can do. You don't even, so what I'm hearing you say is you didn't even try out for that movie. He just put you in.
He cast me 2/3 through Blackball Jones. You see, I did a lot of TV, and like Mannix was my first big role as a villain.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of TV, did commercials, and it really worked out well.
Well, it definitely did. And so my question to you is, normally when you do well in a certain role, everyone wants to cast you in that role. How did you feel about, because I know you, and you are completely different than what we think villains are. So how did you feel about always being cast in this certain role?
Well, I really like playing villains. I got to be honest with you.
Really?
I could shoot somebody, beat them up. I go home, take my makeup off. I don't have to go to prison. And they were all meaty roles. But you're right. It didn't, like maybe the last 20 some movies, I've been playing roles where I wasn't a villain. So, but there, I remember Garry Marshall, a director. He did Pretty Woman and stuff. And we played in that Hollywood softball league, and one of my friends said, "Why don't you use Mel Novak?" "Oh, he's a gangster." He says, "Well, if you're a good actor, you could play anything, can't you?" I ended up doing two movie roles with him when he finally realized. So, but any time of a villain, give me the villain role.
Because that's what you have developed.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you, and I don't even know this because I've never been in acting school or anything, but because you have perfected that role so much, do you ever meet other actors that have used you as inspiration for their roles as a villain?
Yeah, because they know I focus. Like in my prison ministry, I would watch the guys I ministered to, you know, lifers, 200-year sentence, and I watched how they walked, how they talked, and some of them ex-mafia guys. So I would make a background and biography on each character. So, because I never killed anybody in real life, but and I learned. I used to hang out with a stuntman. I did learn to do my own fights and stunts, and that's why Robert Klaus hired me for Game of Death. The fight I did in the Bruce Lee movie was from 8 at night till 8 in the morning in the rain, hitting that concrete and everything else. So I became very good. Actually, in the Yul Brynner movie, The Ultimate Warrior, I did the second toughest stunt in the whole movie. They made me an honorary stuntman. But on the way home, I was praying. I said, "Lord, I got a big mouth. I shouldn't have told them I could do it." And fortunately, I didn't get hurt. I didn't get burned. Then after that, after I was killed, they put sunflower seeds and peanut butter on me and dumped 40 live rats all over me.
Oh.
I told that lady who owned them, if that rat bites, any rat bites me, I'm going to bite you, because a human bite's worse than a rat bite.
Oh my goodness. Well, and this is amazing because that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. You did a lot of your own stunts.
Yes.
Has Hollywood changed, or do actors still do a lot of their own stunts, or was it before where you did a lot of your own
Some of
stunts?
them still do. You know, they're really good at it. It makes it easier for the director. They don't have to call cut and put someone in there to do it, and then I'm just rocking and rolling in them, and I enjoyed it. And I've gotten hurt. I had a cracked rib in Black Belt Jones, one in Game of Death. In Hardway Heroes, I hurt my back. There's 4 discs, but I don't regret anything. I mean, it was fun to do those things. And in real life, I have a Skid Row prison ministry for 39 years, which is the exact opposite of what I do in the films. And that helps when I go into the level 4 maximum security, because you got to sign a paper if you're taking a hostage. They don't make deals. Ooh. And I never let them think that I never had fear when I went in those places.
This is a perfect way for us to go to break, because I want to talk more about your work in the prisons and the different type of ministry that you're doing now, because it's much different than the Mel we see in the movie. So I want to talk a lot about that and come back to hear more of my conversation with Mel.
So we're here at the OSB, which is Operation School Bell on Wheels Universal Day of Giving, and it's basically where 3 different partnerships come together to bring this really spectacular day where kids get the opportunity to get clothing, to get new shoes, to get pampered and just treated with all this love and care. And then they get to go into the park at Universal Studios theme park and have a really great time with the chaperones, and then also see their favorite characters like the Minions and things like that while they're there.
It's my birthday today.
What'd you get today?
Clothes, uniforms, and a meeting.
Their adventure starts when they go inside the park. And we know that a lot of our kids have not had the opportunity, to go to theme parks or adventure parks in quite some time. And so they're very excited, and like I said, even the adults here are excited to give this experience to the kids.
Welcome back. I am going to continue my conversation with Mel. Mel, when we went to break, you talked a little bit about your work in the prisons, and I stopped you because I really wanted us to get in deep here and talk a lot about it. So can you tell me what led you to start going into the prisons in the first place? Because we're looking at almost 40 years here.
And also Skid Row, that's a prison without bars. I've been there 39 years and 38 years in prisons and penitentiaries all over the country. I was invited to the Union Rescue Mission as a celebrity at the Easter sunrise service. And all my life I was memorizing scripture, not even knowing why. And I was ministering to 25 street people. And they were hanging on every word, and the CEO said to me, he said, that was amazing. He said, you got to do a service. I said, sure. So I started doing services at the Union Rescue Mission. Then the LA Mission contacted me. I ended up being on the board of directors of LA Mission, then the Fred Jordan Mission, and the Long Beach Rescue Mission. And one of the inmates from county jail got released, and he went to the Union Rescue Mission Spiritual Growth Program. He called the chaplain, Mark Maciel, who is a big Bruce Lee fan. He says, you're not going to know it. Stick the assassin from Game of Death as a preacher. I started in LA County Jail. From there we went to Rahway, New Jersey. These are level 4s. Level 4s in Pennsylvania, New York, and I've been to Alabama, Florida, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, Washington, Walla Walla. I was there 7 times. And I've been to every level 3, level 4 penitentiary in California. Been to Pelican Bay 12 times. This is the worst penitentiary in the country.
Well, and my question to you, so that I can wrap my head around it, what is the difference between a level 3 and a level 4?
Level 4 is the worst in the world. I mean, these are lifers, and like in San Quentin, there's 700 on death row, and 2/3 of them are saved. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's, see, in the prisons, they didn't believe that they could be forgiven, and so what I do, I would be given sermons on forgiveness is the key to healing. God's forgiveness is bigger than your sin, and it's amazing because I've had between 400,000 and 500,000 who gave their life to the Lord. I mean, it's in the worst possible places. The level 3 like that is in Donovan Penitentiary. It's a mile from the Mexican border. It's a level 3, but it's still, I mean, there's so much racism and hate and fights and stabbings. I've been involved in a couple of riots. I'd just be twisting around. In the name of Jesus, I bind up all these, and I never got touched. And in LA County Jail, we had 2 stabbings in the church service in 12 days. I had a service 3 days later, and I said, listen, y'all know me, and I know you heard about the stabbing, so I got to express something. And if you come at me with a shank, I said, I'm going to take your eye out, then I'm going to repent. I established, nobody said boo. Because they know I have 4 Martial Arts Hall of Fame awards, 3 Living Legend awards. My Lord turns his cheek. I don't, because just one time, man, they could take you out. I've been protected all those years. I mean, it's amazing.
And it sounds like you have this high level of respect coming from
Yes.
people within the prison system. How did you get that?
Well, this one inmate at Pelican Bay asked me, he said, you know, it's amazing, you're a movie star. You came to just minister to us. And we were talking, how'd you stay humble? I says, well, I should have died 7 times. I've been crippled from pro ball 5 years. Had a wife walk out of a marriage, lived with pain all these years. And he's going like this. And they understood, because, you know, I never got paid in my ministry in all these years. My payment was ministering to the walking wounded in Skid Row. Those people loved me down there. There were times I went home and after a service and just cried. Mm-hmm. You see, and when I told you that my 60 scholarships were gone.
Yes.
My baseball career's gone, and I'm a cripple. 97% will turn to drugs or alcohol to numb the pain, medicate the pain, escape. God kept me from. I never drank or did drugs. I'm Serbian. My real name is Milan Mrjanovic, and I never drank, and Serbians like to drink.
Oh.
But God, He had a plan. Jeremiah 29:11, I know thoughts and plans I have for you, peace not of evil, give you a future and a hope. And I mean, even to me sitting here doing this wonderful show, he has a plan, and I listen. I mean, we're all called to serve, and look where he put me, Skid Row and prisons.
And my next question to you would be, because you are still working today. I mean, I believe you just got a movie role, and you're going to be back on set, or you're already on set, right?
No, I finished it. I played, it's called Paradise Motel. I played a Norman Bates psycho character.
So still playing the same type of role,
well,
a little bit different.
But I played several. I did 9 movies this year. First billing on 6, and then a second, twice, and third, and science fiction, Ebola Rex, the Murder Hornets versus.
Oh
I mean, these are fun, but I didn't play a villain in there. But my last time I got killed was by 2 Ebola Rex babies.
Who are you?
This person has injected the T-Rex with Ebola, effectively causing the dinosaur to escape the lab into downtown Los Angeles.
This is one of the biggest catastrophes the world has ever seen. The dinosaur's gonna kill us all!
Where are you hiding, you dumb diseased dinosaur?
Oh my God, he's eating that guy!
Run!
I was a lieutenant in the Marines, and I was head of all this, trying to kill them. And the sergeant, I fired her. Well, she came back, and I got knocked out, and they tied me up, and here comes the Ebola Rex babies.
Oh my goodness!
They're fun.
Is that movie in post-production?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
There's about.
You have to let us know.
4 of them.
Now that you've set it up, you have to let us know
Yeah.
when the movie airs so that we can watch it and support you. Well, because you spend a lot of your free time, and you, like you said, you do this as ministry. You don't require people to pay you.
No.
Do you ever have any of your friends when you're on set and they ask you, what are you doing in your spare time, Mel?
Yeah.
And you tell them, I mean, do you have any friends that want to join you, or
Yes.
are they just amazed? I'd love to hear a little bit about that too.
I have a Bible study every other Monday, and I had 20 this Monday, 23 the one before. Been doing that for 39 years. And the people know, they know where I go. A lot of places were dangerous, but we all have a calling. Matthew 20:28, Mark 10:45. We all do, and I heeded that, and that's I got to bless. You know, I'm a cancer survivor. So many times I should have died, and yet God kept me going. I do it on OmegaManRadio.com. I've done over 200 shows where I do the first hour. It goes to 167 countries on Skype. Then I do another one. This husband and wife owned the radio network, and he loved the game of death. He loved me playing stick. He calls it Stick with Jesus.
Oh, that's a play on words.
that goes to 40 countries. So I stay busy. You know, I get a lot of calls for prayer, and I counsel a lot. And it's like we have to reach out. There's people who are hurting. When this COVID hit, so many were overwhelmed with fear. And fear and faith can't live in the same heart. And it's just, I'm there. I've had tough. My brother just went home with the Lord, and it was very difficult. I can't talk with my brother anymore, but I know where he is. 2 Corinthians 5:8, absent from the body, present by the Lord. He's with the Lord. No more pain, no more cancer. So, but there's so many people right now who are struggling.
Yeah, they are, and as we end our time today, because we recognize there's so many people that are struggling, what would Mel say to these people that are watching tonight that are struggling as one piece of advice that you could give to everyone as they're watching our interview?
You know, I would encourage you to start reading the Word of God. There's thousands of promises and a lot of answers to questions are in there. And like I lead people to the Lord, it has nothing to do with religion or denominations. It's a personal, intimate relationship with Jesus Christ who died for our sins. And it's amazing how it changes the heart, because the devil attacks the mind, heart, and emotions, and that's the battlefield. The mind is his playground. So many people who did something bad 20 years ago, they confessed and repented, yet they're tormented, and God doesn't even remember it anymore. So this is what I would encourage. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. All these other things be added unto you. And he promised to take care of your needs, Philippians 4:19. So these are dark days getting darker. And today is the day of salvation, 2 Corinthians 6:2. Tomorrow's not promised. I was to do a wedding up in Washington, Vancouver, Washington. I stay with my daughter Lee in Oregon. I went up on August 14th. The lady got pneumonia, went into the hospital, got COVID. 2 days later, she died. That's why tomorrow's not promised. I mean, it's just, I have peace, I have joy, I have hope.
I loved our conversation tonight, and I just felt so encouraged, and I know our audience has felt encouraged as well. But thank you so much for not just all of the years you spent entertaining us on the big screen, but that you take the time to go out there and meet people who are hurting and encourage them. So thank you so much, and we'll make sure that people can reach out to you. We'll share all of that as well too. So thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Everybody with Angela Williamson. Viewers like you make this show possible. Join us on social media to continue this conversation. Good night and stay well.